Laura had always known that life was full of surprises, but nothing prepared her for the abrupt end of her 20-year marriage. At 45, she found herself alone, heartbroken, and in desperate need of rebuilding her life. On a cold January morning, she packed her bags and left the home she had shared with her ex-husband in search of a fresh start. The small town of Sunflower Hills, just a few hours from her old life, seemed like the perfect place to start over. With its quaint streets lined with artisan shops and cozy cafes, Sunflower Hills offered the tranquility Laura craved. She found a charming cottage to rent, surrounded by a garden that bloomed even in the winter months. The physical change seemed a perfect reflection of the internal transformation she hoped to achieve. As she entered her new home, Laura felt a mix of fear and hope. The bare walls and silent rooms seemed to scream for stories and memories to be made. Unpacking her belongings, she found old photos and remembered the dreams she had before her marriage. She thought about the years she had devoted herself entirely to her husband, forgetting herself in the process. Now, in Sunflower Hills, she had the chance to rediscover who she really was. The first few days were lonely but full of discovery. Laura explored the town, walking the cobblestone streets and visiting the local markets. She met the friendly bookstore owner, Mrs. Thompson, a woman with silver hair and bright eyes who invited her for coffee on her first visit. They talked about books and life in the town, and Laura felt for the first time a little sense of belonging. Soon after, Laura signed up for a painting class in the local community, something she had always wanted to do but never had the time. The art studio was located in a former textile factory, now transformed into a vibrant cultural center. There, she met other people who were also looking for new experiences and friendships. The class was an eclectic mix of young artists and retirees looking for a hobby, and everyone welcomed her with open arms. During her first few classes, Laura felt her worries begin to melt away. Painting, with its colors and shapes, became her therapy. She lost herself in brushstrokes and sketches, allowing each canvas to reflect her deepest emotions. In the process, she began to rebuild her confidence and believe that life could, in fact, be reinvented. However, it wasn't all easy. Laura often found herself reflecting on her past, especially on lonely nights. Memories of her ex-husband were painful, and she struggled with feelings of regret and hurt. At times like these, the presence of new friends proved essential. One of those friends was Angela, a spirited and vivacious woman with her own story of overcoming obstacles. Angela became a mentor and confidant, helping Laura see things from a new perspective. As Laura navigated her first months in Sunflower Hills, she realized that starting over required more than just a change of scenery. It took courage to face her fears, determination to pursue her dreams, and most of all, patience with herself. With each new day, Laura committed to taking a step forward, however small, toward her happiness. And so, little by little, Laura began to transform the emptiness of her new house into a welcoming home. Photos of happy times, new and old, filled the shelves. The garden began to bloom under her care, reflecting the renewal of her own life. Laura knew she still had a long way to go, but for the first time in many years, she felt exactly where she needed to be. Laura's new life in Sunflower Hills was just beginning, and with each new friendship, each discovery, and each challenge overcome, she grew closer to her true self, ready to embrace all the possibilities that the future held for her. Laura woke up on a sunny Saturday with a sense of anticipation that she hadn't felt in a long time. The painting class had become the highlight of her week, a space where she could lose herself in the colors and shapes, leaving her worries and sorrows behind. But beyond the art, what enchanted her most were the people she met there. In particular, her unexpected friendship with Angela proved to be an essential foundation in her new life. Angela was a force of nature. With her red hair always tied back in an undone bun and an infectious smile, she had an energy that lit up any room. At 50, Angela had already gone through her own series of hardships, including the loss of a child and a messy divorce. But instead of letting it get to her, she channeled her grief into a passion for life and the people around her. "Laura, you have to come to our book club," Angela said one day as they were cleaning their brushes in the studio. It's a great way to meet new people and maybe make new friends. Laura hesitated for a moment. The idea of socializing was still a little intimidating, but Angela's excitement was irresistible. "Sure, why not?" she replied, feeling a surge of enthusiasm. That same week, Laura found herself in Mrs. Thompson's cozy cafe, where the book club met. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and the murmur of conversation created an inviting atmosphere. Angela introduced her to the other members, a diverse group of men and women of different ages and backgrounds. Each had a unique story, and they all welcomed her warmly. The book club quickly became a haven for Laura. Discussing books was a way to escape and connect with others. One of the members, Henry, a former literature professor with a sharp sense of humor, quickly became a close friend. Their discussions of literary classics and new releases often extended beyond the club meetings, with casual coffee meetings to continue the conversation. Henry had a way of making Laura feel comfortable, encouraging her to express her opinions and share her own stories. "You have such a unique perspective, Laura," he said one day as they discussed a particularly complex novel. "Don't be afraid to show it to the world." In addition to Henry, Laura also became close with Sophie, a young mother of 2 young children who was trying to find a balance between work and family life. Sophie was down-to-earth and direct, with an easy laugh that made Laura feel at ease. They would often meet for morning walks around the town lake, sharing confidences and offering each other support. Each new friendship brought a new dimension to Laura's life. Angela, with her unwavering energy, inspired her to be brave and seek out new experiences. Henry, with his wisdom and humor, helped her rediscover the joy of literature and critical thinking. Sophie, with her practicality and empathy, showed her the importance of finding balance and joy in the little things of everyday life. However, not all interactions were easy. Laura also met people who challenged her in unexpected ways. Like Caroline, a talented artist in the painting studio who initially seemed distant and judgmental. Caroline made no secret of her opinion of other people's art, and her cutting words often made Laura feel insecure. "You have potential, Laura," Caroline said one day after a particularly harsh critique. "But you need to stop painting what you think other people want to see. Paint what you feel, what you are." These words resonated deeply with Laura. Over time, she began to see Caroline not as a critic, but as a demanding mentor who pushed her to be better. Gradually, a kind of mutual respect developed between the two, and Laura realized that Caroline's criticisms were actually a sign that she believed in her potential. As these new friendships blossomed, Laura felt like she was beginning to find herself again. Each interaction, each new connection, helped her rebuild her identity and feel more grounded in her new life. Sunflower Hills was no longer just a physical place, but a true home, where she was not just surviving but living fully. And so, with each passing day, Laura found herself more confident, more connected, and most of all, more hopeful about the future. The friendships she had cultivated were not only an emotional support, but also a constant source of inspiration and growth. And although she knew there were still challenges ahead, Laura was ready to face them, surrounded by a network of people who believed in her and supported her every step of the way. Laura had begun to feel like she was finally finding her groove at Sunflower Hills. Her new friendships and her routine of painting classes kept her busy and fulfilled. But life has a way of surprising her, and Laura was about to face a series of twists and turns that would test her resilience and determination. It all started on a quiet autumn afternoon when Laura received an unexpected phone call. It was her ex-husband, Carlos. His voice, once so familiar, now sounded distant and disconcerting. "Laura, we need to talk," he said bluntly. "I'm in town for a work project and I'd like to meet up." Carlos's request brought a wave of conflicting emotions. Laura had worked hard to build a new life and leave him behind. Meeting him again meant opening wounds that had barely begun to heal. Despite her hesitation, she agreed, determined to face her past head-on. They met at a cafe in the city center. Carlos looked tired, older than Laura remembered, and there was a sadness in his eyes that she didn't recognize. "Laura, I know I hurt you," he began, his voice full of regret. "Since we broke up, I've realized how much I messed up and how much I lost you. I came here to try to make things right." Carlos's confession left Laura stunned. Part of her wanted to forgive him and move on, but another part, the part that had learned to value herself again, knew she should be cautious. She listened as he talked about the changes he had made in his life, his own struggles, and the loneliness he had felt since the breakup. This unexpected turn of events brought up old feelings and questions. Laura spent the next few days reflecting on their conversation, seeking advice from Angela and Henry. Angela, ever practical and direct, said, "Laura, you need to think about yourself. Don't let guilt or pity influence your decisions." Henry, meanwhile, encouraged her to follow her heart, but keep her eyes open. "People can change, Laura, but that doesn't mean you have to forget what happened. Use this experience to grow and make the best decision for yourself." In the midst of this emotional storm, another surprise awaited Laura. During one of the book club meetings, a new member joined the group. David, a charming and intelligent man who had recently moved to Sunflower Hills. He was a travel writer, full of fascinating stories about the places he had visited and the people he had met. David and Laura quickly found a special connection. Their conversations flowed easily, and there was a palpable chemistry between them. He made her laugh and encouraged her to see life through new eyes. "You are an incredible woman, Laura," he once told her. "Don't let the past dictate who you are or who you can become." As Laura navigated the confusing emotions surrounding Carlos and the excitement of meeting David, life had another surprise in store for her. One winter morning, while painting in her studio, she received a call from her younger brother, John. "Laura, Mommy is sick," he said, his voice thick with concern. "I think you should come home." The news of her mother's health was a huge blow. Laura and her mother had always had a complicated relationship, but the thought of losing that connection was unbearable. She quickly packed her bags and returned to her hometown, temporarily leaving her new life in Sunflower Hills. The return home brought back old memories and conflicts. The time spent with her mother in the hospital was full of difficult conversations and tender moments. Laura realized that despite their differences, there was a deep love that united them. This time was crucial to their emotional healing, and Laura promised herself that she would do everything she could to keep their relationship fresh. While she was away, Laura received constant messages from Angela, Henry, Sophie, and, surprisingly, David. They all supported her from afar, sending words of encouragement and reminders that she was not alone. These messages were a constant reminder that no matter what happened, Laura had a support network in Sunflower Hills that was waiting for her with open arms. When Laura finally returned to Sunflower Hills, she felt different. The twists and turns of the past few weeks had transformed her. She was stronger, more self-assured, and more aware of what really mattered in her life. Reconciliation with her mother, resolution of her feelings toward Carlos, and the new hope represented by David had given her a new perspective. Now, Laura was ready to continue her journey, knowing that although the path might be full of surprises and challenges, she had the inner strength and support of her friends to overcome any obstacle. And with this renewed confidence, she was more prepared than ever to embrace the future and all the possibilities it held. Back in Sunflower Hills, Laura felt different. The experiences of the past few weeks had profoundly transformed her. She returned to her routine with new determination, ready to embrace the future with courage and hope. Laura devoted herself to painting with renewed passion. Her works began to reflect her experiences and emotions, gaining a depth they had not had before. Caroline, who had become a critical but fair mentor, noticed the change. "Finally, Laura," she said one day, looking at a vibrant, life-giving painting. "You're painting from the heart." Laura's confidence in her art grew, and with the encouragement of her friends, she decided to organize a small exhibition at the Cultural Center. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers showed up to see her work. The event was a success, and Laura felt finally recognized and validated in her new passion. As her artistic career blossomed, Laura also dedicated herself to nurturing her friendships and relationships. Angela, always a source of support and inspiration, was instrumental in this process. "You're shining, Laura," Angela said at a celebratory evening after the exhibition. It's amazing to see how much you've grown. David, the travel writer who had captured her heart, continued to be a constant and encouraging presence. They spent hours talking about life, exploring new parts of Sunflower Hills, and planning trips together. He challenged her to dream big and not be afraid to go after what she truly wanted. A turning point for Laura came when she received an offer to participate in an artist residency in a nearby city. The opportunity was exciting, but it also meant temporarily leaving Sunflower Hills and David. You should go, David said, taking her hands. This is your chance to grow even more. I'll be here when you get back. Laura accepted the offer with enthusiasm. The residency was a transformative experience, allowing her to expand her skills and meet other inspiring artists. During this time, she faced new challenges, but each obstacle she overcame only made her stronger. Her confidence as an artist and as a person grew exponentially. Upon returning to Sunflower Hills, Laura found David waiting for her at the train station, a warm smile on his face. "Welcome back, artist," he said, hugging her. Laura realized that despite the changes and new opportunities, Sunflower Hills remained her home, the place where she had found redemption and a new beginning. One spring afternoon, as she strolled through her garden, now blooming with vibrant colors, Laura reflected on her journey. She thought of all the people who had touched her life. Angela, Henry, Sophie, Caroline, and of course David. Each of them had contributed to her transformation, helping her rebuild herself and rediscover her true self. Laura knew that her triumph was not just about personal or professional success, but about the ability to forgive, to open herself to new experiences, and to find the inner strength to move forward, no matter the challenges. She had learned to value herself and the importance of surrounding herself with people who loved and supported her unconditionally. On a starry night, Laura hosted a dinner party at her home for her closest friends. The table was filled with laughter, conversation, and shared memories. Angela raised a toast. To Laura, who showed us that it's never too late to start over. May your journey continue to inspire us all. David looked at Laura fondly, holding her hand. You are living proof that resilience and love can transform any life, he said. I'm proud of you. Laura smiled, feeling truly at peace. She had found redemption not only in her accomplishments, but in the deep connections she had formed. The future was full of possibilities, and she was ready to embrace them wholeheartedly. And so Laura continued on her journey, knowing that no matter what the future held, she had the strength and support she needed to succeed. She had found her voice, her purpose, and most of all, herself. Sunflower Hills was not just a place where she had started over. It was the place where she had found herself and where her story of triumph and redemption would continue to be written.